Kia ora. Today I'm going to talk about Pacific Sustaining RTLB practice. In particular, I'm going to talk about our recent professional development that we had with Tui Tuia, which it was amazing. I had been looking at Tapasa actually and saw it as one of our modules, which actually was really handy for me, as I had been thinking about a case I have at the moment with a child who is Samoan, who came just recently from Samoa, and was struggling to transition to school. After having Tuia come in, it was so interesting, and they had so many practical activities for us to complete, which really dove deeper into our own practice, our own values, our own personal beliefs, our own professional beliefs, and how that related to getting to know your children through Tapasa. What I found really interesting was that in Tapasa there is a whole section on knowing yourself, and we dove into that during Tuia, and I have included that there under my practices derived from my core values and beliefs. So basically we looked at our professional values and beliefs and our professional values and beliefs, and we did that with a buddy when we were doing the PD. For me, with my personal values and beliefs, I looked at my core value and belief was I looked at being a respectful partner, and then I moved out into the principles and how that would look, and then moved out again into practices and what would I do to be able to achieve being a respectful partner. This is all included in the portfolio. We then discussed we got given a different things, or different I believe statements about students, and we had to talk with our buddy and see which ones spoke to us the most. The ones that spoke to me the most and the ones that I believed in were, and my buddy and I happen to agree, I believe that regular feedback is vital for teachers, students and parents. I believe that students can and do learn from each other. I believe that students learn best when they experience ownership of their learning. I believe that students learn effectively when they integrate experience and reflection. I believe that students have an innate desire to learn, to create meaning. The two that spoke to me the most was, I believe that students can and do learn from each other, and so that is that I value collaboration. We then talked about valuing collaboration and how that would look, which would be effective communication, inclusivity, support, feedback, respect, and shared goals. And then we talked about the practices as being the what. It was quite interesting when they talked about the how, that a lot of people did wrote down practices like what you would do, which I actually did a bit of, so I had to refine it. So what would I do to be able to reach these principles would be giving the children opportunities for peer evaluation and feedback, giving the children opportunities for peer tutoring, create groups where children are expected are experts in particular subjects, group evaluations against shared criteria, give each group member different roles, create opportunities for students to collaborate, e.g. group projects, and teach group norms. I think this core value really spoke to me because I believe a lot in play-based learning. That's my passion, and giving students agency and choice over what they learn and how they learn it. And when I was thinking about the practices, a lot of that feeds into feeds into play-based learning, feeds into those key competencies, the underlying key competencies we need to be able to function in society. So I found that quite interesting. I thought, yeah, it was just, I loved that Tapasa. That was one of the first things that they wanted you to do, was to deep dive into your own practice and to really, and your personal values as well. I thought that was really interesting. So that made me really reflect and think about how working with Pacific children, when it comes to valuing collaboration, that they also normally come from a culture where collaboration is really important, where everybody in the community has a role to play and they all work as one big team, one big family to get the job done. I then started thinking about, we then did a gap analysis on our student, and we looked at Tapasa when we were doing that, and it made me think of they gave us a I'll include if I can find it, I'll include it, but they gave us like the underpinning things around like the focus. So I had to think about a focus for my child, and this is a boy who's come from Samoa. So the focus for me was, how can we best support him to how can we best support the said student to respect where he is in his learning, and for him to feel included and valued as a learner. And that comes under like that kind of like love category, is that we demonstrate that each learner and their needs are important, and that was in Tapasa. I'm just looking at, yes. And yes, and also for me, it would also be yeah, I'm just looking at this while I'm doing it. And then, so it was really interesting for me because this one was one where I struggled a little bit, because he was, for me, I felt like he wasn't in his class enough, and that he really needed to build a really positive, strong relationship with his class teacher and with his peers, because he is year 2. He moved from Samoa at the beginning of this year, and he really struggled with the routines of school. So he's been attending until 1 p.m. each day at school, and then from like 9 o'clock to 11, he's with a teacher aide in a small group outside of his classroom, learning the basic literacy and numeracy skills. And then he is with the teacher aide during morning tea, and then for half an hour he goes to his class teacher, but for 15 minutes of that it's lunch eating. So that's the current state. And then it was like, what are the gaps to bridge? And we looked at that to support him to transfer skills he's learnt from the small group with the teacher aide into his classroom setting. I would love for his hours to be extended, to get student voice from him about school and how he feels about it, and to get like his dad's voice on it, because which I have done now, and I found it quite interesting and a little bit upsetting to hear from Dad that he cries every day. He goes home at 12 and says that why can't he stay longer, and that he'll behave in class now. So I also put support teacher to adapt the classroom program to cater to the diverse needs in the class. She has 5 girls and the rest are boys, so it's quite an active class. And to create practical classroom activities to foster sharing, patience, and turn taking. So my desired state would be for him to attend school full time with his classroom teacher, that he would follow the classroom routines, and that he can maintain a positive relationship with his peers. Actually thinking about it now, would be to have a positive relationship with his teacher as well. Since doing this gap analysis, I have met with his teacher. I've met with the Senko DP, and I've spoken to them about my findings and how he is doing so well now. He can, I've observed him many times in his group, and he can follow instructions. He is so eager to learn, so eager to please his teacher. He's always got his hand up. He always wants to help out. And it was just sort of meeting with his teacher and really giving her that positive reinforcement that, you know, she's doing a great job, and that everything that they've done with him has been so successful that I feel like he's definitely ready to come to school longer. So at the moment, he is now with his classroom teacher in the morning till 12. He is going to have, I think, one more week of 12 o'clock finishes, and then he's going to extend his hours. And I have said to his teacher that what can I do to add on to the amazing things you're doing in class. And I've spoken to her about maybe I could purchase some resources through LSF to get some resources that are of interest to him, that will keep him engaged during times where he is able to rotate and choose the activities he wants to do. It was also just trying to really get across to the teacher that it's a big cultural shock to come from Samoa, where his parents were working full-time and he was with a babysitter all the time, to New Zealand, where there's a lot more structure and his dad is now at home with him full-time while his mum goes to work. So it was just trying to getting her to understand that, he's come from a completely different schooling system and that he just needs a bit more time to settle in. So yeah, it looks like it's all going well for him, and that sorry, it's all going well for him, and that just really being respectful of, where he's come from and giving him time to settle in has been very valuable. Like, he has come so far in the last 10 weeks. He's completely now settled into school and knows the routines. He's also he's definitely very onto it and very clever, because when I've spoken to him and I've done some things with him, when I've asked him what number is this in Samoan, or how do you say this in Samoan, he knows he can translate very easily. So it's also just thinking about what ways can we incorporate Samoan into the school day to make him feel more comfortable, and for him to also be able to even be teaching the other children. So I even suggested the bilingual books, or things like that, so that he can see some familiarity in school. So yeah, it's been amazing to see how far he's come, and I have it's really helped me to do the gap analysis on him, and to also dive into the core values and beliefs. And we've got more PD from Tui Tui coming, and I'm really looking forward to it. It was so practical.